Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Ba-Boom Political Vigilante, making Gotham great again. Well, we talk a lot on this show about how the main goal, we're starting to see the kind of the plan here. As Max Kaiser said on the show almost 2 years ago now, you can't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you. And he knows that the federal governments, the central banks that run most governments, the central banks that run the world, are afraid of Bitcoin because it is peer-to-peer. If you read the Bitcoin white paper, which, by the way, if you have a Mac computer, it got revealed that the Bitcoin white paper is hidden in your Mac. You can read the whole white paper. But it's a 9-page document. I would highly recommend reading it. I posted on my Twitter, which is at Graham Elwood, how to do it, how to find it. So read that. So we've covered this recently, how Liz Warren is trying to push. She's like, Bitcoin doesn't stand for anything. It's a bunch of hooey baloo. It's like not even like a piece of taffy. You know, central banking digital currencies, that's what we want. And she even said, and I showed you the video, you can go back and watch it, where she's like, if Bitcoin will hurt America's ability to sanction countries. Yeah, that's its goal, because America's sanctioning is an act of warfare. America's sanctioning actually hurts countries and its citizens. It doesn't, and it's just the way America can force everybody under its will. And now we're seeing countries leaving the dollar. China, Saudi Arabia is like, oh, we're done. We're going to start using, we've talked about the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's almost half of the world's population. So what they've been taught, and we first heard about this a couple years ago, I think, when we had Christy I on the show from Boom Bust, which was on RT, which has been taken out thanks to the Department of Justice, because we have freedom of press in America. We need to just trust that the government will allow us what, needs to tell us what news we can and cannot watch. We can't make the decision for ourselves. So the Federal Reserve is really pushing, well, the central banks are pushing CBDCs, which is, again, central banking digital currency, because they can control us then. You can't, if we can buy and sell stuff using Bitcoin and no one is involved at all. You're seeing all these countries, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Guatemala, where just local merchants, it's pulling people out of third world poverty. I'm seeing all these videos in all these countries. El Salvador, we know, and literally El Salvador Bukele has locked up because they had a horrific drug cartel gang violence. Horrific. People just going into these drug gangs, killing, raping people. It's just, the stories are awful. And they made Bitcoin their currency, and it's now, the crime rate is way down. They haven't had a murder in 60, 70 some days. I mean, America can't even go, we can't go 5 minutes without that. And you're seeing all these videos, just little shopkeepers, and because everyone's got a smartphone, they might not have access to central banks. We've talked about this before in this show. There's probably 2 to 3 billion people that are unbanked, but everyone's got a smartphone. And you're seeing somebody just walking up, just like literally buying food, little whatever, knickknacks, and they're just boom, boom, using Bitcoin. And I said on this show that El Salvador would be the first domino to fall. So this is a threat to the American empire. Part of how America flexes its muscle is through its military and its money, right? So this is what they're forcing. So I want to show you, this is on the Federal Reserve's website. They just put this up there. And it's sneaky, because they're going to say, oh, no, we're not going to do this at all. So, right, is the FedNow replacing cash? It is a central bank digital currency. No, this is from the federalreserve.gov website. Okay, you can go look this up yourself. FedNow is not related to a digital currency. FedNow is a payment service the Federal Reserve is making available for banks and credit unions to transfer funds. Oh, nice. That sounds happy. It is like other Federal Reserve payment services, such as FedWire and FedACH. Again, this is why because again, without crypto, or specifically Bitcoin, if you live in another country and you want to send money back home, you have to go through These banking ACH, and where they take a big chunk of change. Even if you're like, let's say you're a tourist traveling in these countries that I just mentioned, Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and you want to use your debit card or credit card to buy stuff. They convert the currency, then they charge you a little for that. And then there's upwards of anywhere from 3 to 8% fees for using your card in another country. Bitcoin doesn't have that. It has a fraction of those costs, right? So they don't want that, because then if they can't take a nickel, and then you've got companies like PayPal and Visa and all these companies that are middlemen that we don't need. They're third-party agencies that really provide no service or anything. They don't like, oh, we need them to. No, they just inserted themselves so that they could take money off of each one of our transactions. So the federal government is threatened by this. I mean, China has tried to push its central banking digital currency. All the major governments are like, ooh, we gotta do this, because China has tried to shut down Bitcoin and they can't do it. They can't do it. So the United States is trying to do this. So we got to read this closely, because, and it says the FedNow service is an instant payment service provided by the Federal Reserve, launching in July 2023. Okay, so it's coming in a couple of months, but it's not a CBDC, right? FedNow will be available to depository institutions such as banks and credit unions in the United States, and will enable individuals and businesses to send instant payments through their depository institution accounts. Bitcoin does that. We could just do that right now. Instant payments allow individuals and businesses to send and receive payments within seconds at any time of the day, any time of the year, so that the receiver of the payment can use the funds almost instantly. Now, read this last paragraph. The Federal Reserve has made no decision on issuing a central bank digital currency, and would not do so without clear support from Congress and the executive branch, ideally in the form of a specific authorizing law. A CBDC would not replace cash or other payment options. Oh, gee. Liz Warren has been calling for a CBDC since, look at this article, since March of last year, March 31st, 2022. This was on CoinDesk from last year and replayed on YouTube. U.S. Senator Liz Warren says it's time for the U.S. to create its own central bank digital currency. Warren spoke with NBC's Chuck Todd on Meet the Press report scheduled for 10:30. So a lot of banks do wrong. If you think we could improve that in a digital world, the answer is sure you could. But in that case, let's do a central bank digital currency. Yeah, I think it's time for us to move in that direction. Because with a central bank digital currency, they can control it. If I'm using a CBDC, then they know every transaction I make. They can just shut my phone down. They could just say, oh, I can't buy this anymore. They don't want you to go buy something. They don't want you to, no, you can't travel to these countries. Nope. You can't do business with somebody else. You can't, they're going to shut that down. With Bitcoin, we circumvent all of that. And they say, oh, it opens its way to criminality. Really? Right. The US dollar's never been used for anything criminal ever. No, there's no suitcases full of drug and blood money. That's never happened before. America's a country where the top 62 wealthiest people in the world, most of whom live in America, are Americans, American citizens, have more wealth than the bottom half of the population, which is currently 8 billion people. So there's 62 people have more wealth than 4 billion people. Bitcoin pulls these people out of poverty. They can't have that. We need half the world poor and dependent upon us. Responding to Todd's question on whether Bitcoin will face a minimum being regulated like a commodity, Warren responded, I think it's going to end up getting regulated. Using the subprime mortgage financial crisis that started in 2007 as an example of where it's needed. So she didn't say that what form of regulations. This is March of last year. Warren announced a new bill to block cryptocurrency companies from conducting business with sanctioned companies. On whether senators saw cryptocurrency as this decade's real estate, Warren replied, the whole digital world has worked very much like a bubble works. I showed you this clip that she just did another interview with Chuck Todd, and she talks about a bubble Yeah, there's the fiat currency bubble. There's the housing bubble that you politicians allowed happen. You didn't do any regulation. You created the Dodd-Frank bill, which was a toothless piece of legislation that then Barney Frank, it's his, then helped behind the scenes undo that legislation. And again, the Democrats allowed Trump to get rid of that piece of legislation. Let's also roll back to Glass-Steagall, a piece of FDR era banking regulation that came about after the 1929 stock market collapse. So the FDR put a bunch of banking regulation in there so that couldn't happen again. That regulation was in place from the 1930s until 1999. When who was the president then? Oh, towards the end of his final term in office, when everyone was screaming about a stained cocktail dress, quietly repealed Glass-Steagall, which helped the banks get out of control, which helped create the 2008 housing crisis. Goldman Sachs has been in every presidential cabinet since Reagan. You see how this is all connected? Follow the money, connect the dots. You see how I'm connecting all of this for you? They don't want us all just traveling around the world conducting business with Bitcoin. They don't want that. They don't want that. So, they're all full of it. Real estate always goes up. It never goes down. They said that decades ago. The reason we've had real estate bubbles, Senator Warren, is because the banking industry, which buys off the Democrats and the Republicans, are allowed to get away with stuff because there's no regulation, because the American political system and its two corrupt parties, of which you are a part of, are completely bought and paid for. Thank you, Senator Warren. We appreciate your time. So there it is, guys. We would never do a CBDC, says the Federal Reserve, without clear. So that last paragraph that I read you, and then showing what Liz Warren said a year ago, that last paragraph is secretly telling you the CBDC is coming. Congress is going to pass a law and everyone's going to get on board with it. But this is why I've been telling you, get your money out of the big banks. Why do I say that? Why do I say get your money out of big banks? Because of this.
Rest assured, they'll be protected and they'll have access to their money as of today. That includes small businesses across the country that bank there and need to make payroll, pay their bills, and stay open for business. No losses will be, and this is an important point, no losses will be borne by the taxpayers. Instead, the money will come from the fees that banks pay into the deposit insurance fund. Second, the management of these banks will be fired. If the bank is taken over by FDIC, the people running the bank should not.
Why didn't you and Obama put the CEOs of the banks in jail back in 08 and 09 when you got sworn into office, like Iceland did? Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Sleepy Joe.
There anymore. Third, investors in the banks will not be protected. They know.
Oh, shut up. All right, I can't listen to this nonsense anymore. So that's why I've been saying for years, get your money out of the big banks, get it into a credit union. And why I've been saying for 3 years, it's not financial advice. Make your own decisions. Why I would look at seriously into Bitcoin, because they want us. They want to control us as best as they can. So please support what we're doing, guys. We've been demonetized because we live in a repressive empire. This is a repressive regime where that we don't have freedom of speech. We don't have press freedom. YouTube has demonetized me for over 2 years. So it's one of the reasons I'm so big into crypto. I have to be. So you can donate at Venmo. You can donate to the show. And even in the I have my Bitcoin address, my wallet address. You can donate Bitcoin to me. You can donate Ethereum to me. You can donate Bitcoin Cash. All of those wallet addresses are listed below. And also, we've got a bunch of live shows coming up, including an online game show, the Anything Can Happen game show, April 22nd, that is available to you anywhere in the world. You can watch this show. It is April 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. Go to grahamelwood.com. And then I've got live stand-up comedy shows the end of April as well. Hawaii, I'm coming to you. Maui, April 27th. Kona, April 28th. Honolulu, April 29th. And then Arizona, I'm coming to you in May. Phoenix, May 11th. Tucson, May 12th. All those tickets are at grahamelwood.com. Sign up for the newsletter at grahamelwood.com. You can watch my comedy special, Manifest It, at grahamelwood.com. So there's a lot of ways to support what we're doing. You're the best, smartest fans in the world. This is the People's Channel. I want you all to be involved very much because I want you to not go through what I went through, which is in 2010, I lost my home to foreclosure, thanks to the two corrupt parties. Thanks to Bush and Obama, let the banks steal my home, along with 6 million other Americans, with people like Liz Warren. Yay, she used to be a Republican. Thanks for supporting the show. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, and shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/GrahamElwood or rockfin.com/GrahamElwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood and go to grahamelwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.